It begins with silence, a hushed stage, a restless audience, and then an eruption of sound unlike anything else in opera. Notes so high, so sharp, they strike like lightning. This is not just music. It is Mozart's deadliest creation, the Queen of the Night aria. Written in 1791, it demands a voice that can leap into the stratosphere, piercing through to an F6, a note few singers on earth can reach, let alone repeat with precision. For sopranos, it is a trial by fire. One false breath, one missed note, and the queen does not forgive. For over 2 centuries, this aria has ended careers, made legends, and terrified even the bravest singers. Some call it opera's Mount Everest. Others call it a curse. Today, we dive into why this is the most dangerous aria in opera history and why audiences still hold their breath every time the queen takes the stage.
Imagine being asked to climb Mount Everest in under 4 minutes. It's an impossible feat. Now, imagine attempting that same climb in a heavy ball gown during a blizzard, while screaming at the summit with perfect, furious, crystalline pitch. That, in essence, is Mozart's Queen of the Night aria. In the world of performance, there is no safety net, no possibility of a second chance, just one lone soprano, a series of notes that can famously shatter glass, and the intense, silent judgment of the entire world. It's not just a song, it's the single most notorious vocal challenge in history, a musical high-wire act where survival means immortality, and one tiny, imperceptible slip means a career-ending fall. The question isn't just if the soprano can hit the notes, it's about whether she can psychologically and physically survive the attempt. On the surface, Mozart's opera. The Magic Flute presents itself as a charming fairy tale, a fantastical bedtime story filled with heroic princes, enchanted instruments, and comical bird catchers. But if you peel back that whimsical, colorful veneer, you uncover a brutal, philosophical tug-of-war between the forces of primal darkness and enlightened reason. The Queen of the Night is the living, breathing personification of that darkness. In Act 1, she's a masterful portrait of wounded grace, a mother cloaked in sorrow, grieving the violent abduction of her daughter, Pamina, by the high priest Sarastro. Her plea to the hero, Prince Tamino, is delicate, heartbreaking, almost seductively sweet. But Act 2 brutally rips that sympathetic mask away. The queen returns, but this time she's no longer a grieving mother. She is a storm of pure, concentrated fury. In a blast of musical rage, she shoves a dagger into her own daughter's hand and spits out the command, Der Hölle Rache kocht in meinem Herzen. Hell's vengeance boils in my heart. The ultimatum is chillingly simple. Murder Sarastro or be disowned, abandoned, and cursed forever. With this, Mozart didn't just write an angry melody, he forged a weapon. He engineered a vocal assault course so punishing, so fundamentally extreme, that sopranos today simply refer to it as impossible. So what exactly makes this aria a singer's single worst nightmare? Let's break down the raw, terrifying numbers. The music rockets from a C4, a comfortable note in the middle of the voice, all the way up to a stratospheric F6, a pitch so high it lives in the same piercing neighborhood as a piccolo, or a high-frequency dog whistle. That's a staggering 2-octave leap, the vocal equivalent of sprinting up a sheer cliff face while juggling lit torches. And along this treacherous vertical path, Mozart has scattered a series of musical landmines, impossibly fast staccato runs that must sound like machine gun fire, serpentine chromatic scales that twist and turn with no clear anchor, and trills that demand the singer flutter her tongue at an inhuman 140 beats per minute. Each firework burst of notes lasts for mere milliseconds, demanding a throat that stays completely relaxed while the tongue and diaphragm perform superhuman acrobatics. And unlike a modern pop singer, the soprano gets absolutely no help. The orchestra never politely steps aside. In fact, it actively conspires against her. Flutes shadow her an octave below, ready to expose any error in pitch, trumpets blaze with regal authority, and timpani rolls thunder menacingly underneath. One momentary rhythmic slip, one single breath taken at the wrong microsecond, and the entire harmonic structure collapses, live, for everyone to hear. There is no auto-tune, no click track, just a column of vibrating air, 2 tiny vocal cords, and the soul-crushing terror of having to perfectly nail that F6 3 separate times. How did this legendary, borderline sadistic aria even come to be? Mozart wrote the part in 1791 specifically for one singer, his sister-in-law, a soprano named Josefa Hofer. The story goes that when she first saw the sheet music, with its terrifying leaps and dizzying runs, she didn't just question it, she laughed out loud and accused Wolfgang of finally losing his mind. He simply and confidently replied, Learn it, the crowd will go insane. And he was absolutely right. On opening night, Hofer delivered a performance for the ages, and the audience gasped so loudly and so universally that the orchestra was reportedly forced to pause before continuing. Josefa's secret weapon was a highly unusual vocal technique, something that wouldn't even have a proper name for another century. She learned to slip into an early, unrefined form of the whistle register to produce the sound. It was a vocal anomaly, a party trick she had perfected, now turned into breathtaking high art. For her, it became a signature. For the generations of sopranos who followed, that note became famously known as the money F. If you can land it consistently and fearlessly, contracts, fame, and glory will shower down. If you crack it or miss it entirely, YouTube and the unforgiving annals of opera history will preserve the splatter forever. Now, let's flash forward 200 years from that Vienna premiere to the stage of the Royal Opera House in 2003. A German soprano named Diana Damrau walks onto a stage draped in starry midnight light, her eyes already blazing with a cold, terrifying fire. She begins the first verse with an almost conversational, chilling calm, luring you into her confidence before the fireworks. And then, without warning, the Coloratura detonates. On the word kocht, the German verb for boils, her voice transforms into a surgical laser, firing off impossibly clean 30-second notes that spark like flint striking steel. When the first F6 arrives, she doesn't just hit it, she seizes it, appearing to brand it into the back wall of the historic hall. She then holds it for a split second longer than the score strictly demands, a subtle, brilliant act of dominance, as if to remind the laws of gravity that tonight, they are merely optional. The audience, completely forgetting themselves, erupts mid-aria, a massive breach of the normally strict and silent etiquette of opera. A prompter working backstage that night later confessed that she was so transfixed by the performance, she completely forgot to turn the pages of the score. Damrau's secret is a painstaking, almost obsessive process of building micro-muscle memory. She rehearses the aria in tiny 5-note chunks at half speed, layering in the dynamics and drama only when the notes are physically and irrevocably locked in. Even with this militant precision, the physical toll is immense. She once admitted in an interview that she can lose up to 2 kilograms of water weight during a single performance of the Queen. That's how fiercely and how physically the Queen of the Night fights back. Diana Damrau is a modern master, but she is a stunning exception. Pick any opera season, anywhere in the world, and you'll hear the same hushed whispers from agents and artistic directors. Roughly 40% of sopranos scheduled to sing the Queen will cancel at least one performance. The official reasons, when given, often read like a grim medical chart: subluxated vocal cords, burst throat capillaries, debilitating panic attacks, or the simple, devastatingly honest note, couldn't find the F. The aria is a technical minefield primarily because it sits directly on the passaggio, the treacherous break in a singer's voice where the chest register desperately wants to flip into the head voice. But the tempo is so blisteringly fast, there is zero time to navigate that transition smoothly. It demands a perfect, instantaneous gear shift. If you push too hard from below, the note screeches flat. If you play it too safe and lighten up too much, it slices painfully sharp. All the while, you are tasked with projecting an aura of murderous divine authority, not the sheer naked terror you are actually feeling. Veteran singers describe the experience as trying to fly an Airbus A380 with bicycle handlebars. One wrong twitch of a muscle and the result is catastrophe. It's precisely why voice teachers issue a stark warning to their students. Learn it too early in your career and you risk developing a permanent vocal wobble from the strain. Learn it too late and your voice may have already lost the youthful flexibility required to access the whistle register on demand. The sweet spot is a terrifyingly narrow window, usually about 5 years into a professional career, when a singer's technique is bulletproof, but their cartilage is still pliable enough to bend to the aria's brutal, inhuman demands. But the danger of this aria isn't just physical, it's deliberately encoded into the music's very DNA. Mozart and his librettist, Emanuel Schikaneder, were both devoted Freemasons, and the Magic Flute is steeped in the fraternity's symbolism. Within the Masonic worldview, the Queen of the Night represents unenlightened chaotic emotion, hysteria, and superstition. Her enemy Sarastro stands for reason, wisdom, and enlightened stability. Mozart uses the language of music to telegraph this philosophical battle. He traps the Queen in the key of D minor, a key he specifically reserved for his most dramatic moments of storms, fury, and death. Then he uses harmony to literally pull the rug out from under her. Listen for the moment she sings the word toten, or dead. For a split second, he deploys a jarring Neapolitan chord, a sudden chromatic detour that feels like the floor is tilting sickeningly beneath your feet. It's the sonic equivalent of a parent slapping a child mid-sentence, a musical gesture of profound disrespect and dismissal. Finally, the aria doesn't end with a grand, satisfying cadence that resolves the tension. It just stops. She is dismissed with a fragmented, sputtering recitative as if she's been musically silenced, left talking herself into oblivion. In this war of ideas, enlightenment wins, darkness is banished, and the soprano is left standing backstage, clutching her throat and wondering what on earth just happened. An aria this potent, this instantly recognizable, could never be confined to the formal opera house. Hollywood in particular adores it as an incredibly effective shortcut to signal regal menace and high-stakes danger. It's used to chilling effect in the film Amadeus, of course, where it underscores the madness and genius of its composer. But it also provides the pulse-pounding soundtrack for a critical heist in Mission Impossible: Rogue Nation, turning an action sequence into a moment of high culture. It appears in the television series The Crown as a recurring motif for Princess Margaret's public meltdowns, her inner turmoil externalized through Mozart's fury. It has even been used in a car commercial, with a sleek sedan seemingly outrunning a violent thunderstorm powered by the Queen's rage. Directors know that our ears are hardwired to link that F6 with immediate sophisticated peril, but perhaps its most profound and bizarre journey was with NASA. When scientists were choosing the sounds of Earth to place on the Golden Record, sent aboard the Voyager spacecraft, they included this very aria. Right now, it is speeding through the cosmos, a calling card for our entire species. Somewhere billions of miles away from home, a soprano's furious cry of hellish vengeance is humanity's official hello to the universe. Let that sink in for a moment.
Before we hit the last high note, if you enjoy these deep dives into the world's most epic music, be sure to subscribe to Opera Brownn. And while you're at it, tell me your favorite Queen performance in the comments. Which soprano sends you ducking for cover? I read every suggestion, and yes, I'll listen.
Let's take a moment to geek out on the pure, unadulterated science of this sound. That high F, or F6, vibrates at precisely 1396.9 Hz. To produce it, a soprano's two tiny vocal cords must slam together and part nearly 1,400 times per second. For comparison, that's faster than a hummingbird beats its wings in flight. All of this must happen while maintaining a microscopic 2mm gap for air to pass through and vibrate. Simultaneously, the singer must instinctively shape her mouth and pharynx into a narrow tube to amplify the sound into the sixth formant, a phenomenon acousticians call the singer's formant. It's a specific band of acoustic energy that acts like a natural microphone, a resonant frequency that allows an unamplified human voice to slice cleanly through the sound of a 60-piece orchestra. Now imagine managing all of that delicate, intricate internal machinery while your adrenal glands are jacking your pulse to over 160 beats per minute. You can begin to understand why Coloratura sopranos often compare singing this aria to diffusing a ticking bomb while wearing a constrictive ball gown. A truly great performance of this aria is about so much more than just surviving the notes. It's about weaponizing the complex psychology of a mother who has been warped by grief and rage. When you watch a top-tier diva perform this role, you aren't just hearing an aria, you are witnessing a masterclass in psychological warfare. Look for the micro-gestures that tell the real story. A trembling lip as the Queen mentions her daughter. A chilling heartbeat's pause before she hands over the dagger, eyes that sweep the audience as if searching for her next victim to command. These subtle, calculated choices are what sell the illusion that everything is about to derail at any second, which in turn makes the impossible vocal fireworks feel even more terrifyingly risky. It's the same reason that horror movies use shaky cameras. The calculated introduction of instability pumps adrenaline through the viewer. On stage, the singer's brain is forced to run two parallel programs at once. On one track is the emotional script of a grieving, homicidal mother on the verge of a breakdown. On the other is a metronomic supercomputer calculating breath support, pitch accuracy, and resonance down to the millisecond. If either of those tracks buckles for even a moment, the entire illusion shatters, live in front of thousands of people. So how on earth do you even begin to train for a musical and psychological assault of this magnitude? Modern conservatories have developed what you could call Queen-like drills to prepare the next generation. Sopranos will practice trilling on a G5 and an A5 for months on end. like a high jumper raising the bar 1 centimeter at a time, before they are even allowed to seriously attempt the F6. Voice teachers now use tiny cameras to film their students' larynges in action, using the footage to diagnose and correct the slightest hint of a dreaded flip into a weak, unsupported falsetto. Yet for all this meticulous preparation, nothing can truly mimic the chaos of the real thing. The pinch of a shoe, the intense heat of the stage lights, a tenor who is a fraction of a second late on his cue, or a conductor who, in the heat of the moment, decides to take the tempo faster than in any rehearsal. This is why veterans give one crucial piece of advice to the young singers brave enough to attempt the role: lock the aria in your body, then toss the key away on opening night. What they mean is, the technique must be so deeply ingrained it becomes an unconscious automatic reflex. If you have to consciously think about how to sing it on stage, you're already toast. Your muscle memory has to drive the car, while your soul does the acting. With all of this inherent risk, this enormous potential for career-ending disaster, why are we so magnetically drawn to it? The answer is simple. Human beings are intrinsically wired for extremes. In the space of less than 4 minutes, the Queen of the Night delivers a triple shot of the sublime, the highest note in the standard repertoire, the fastest vocal passages ever written, and the rawest expression of maternal fury in all of art. It's the same primal impulse that makes us watch Olympic sprints, or documentaries about free solo rock climbing without a rope. We are drawn to the spectacle of a fellow human being flirting with genuine disaster, all from the comfortable safety of a velvet seat. Every single performance is a public referendum on the absolute limits of human capability. Did she nail it? Did our species just nudge its own ceiling a little bit higher tonight? When a soprano triumphantly sticks that final F6, the entire opera house shares in a vicarious collective dopamine rush, and when she misses it, we share in a collective wince, a communal intake of breath that is as ancient as the gladiatorial games. Either way, for a few breathtaking minutes, the aria reminds us all that our perceived limits are merely negotiable. So yes, the Queen of the Night aria remains, without a single doubt, the most treacherous 4 minutes ever penned for the human voice. It is a perfect storm of vocal physics, psychological torment, and pure, unadulterated fury that has been humbling the world's greatest singers for over 2 centuries. It demands not just a soprano, but a vocal athlete of the highest order, one who can soar above a piccolo while embodying the cosmic fury of a mother scorned. Whether you first heard it in a cartoon spaceship or a candlelit opera house, that high F6 continues to slice through time, a timeless and terrifying reminder that the greatest art often lives right on the bleeding edge of catastrophe. You should try to catch it live whenever you get the chance, because every time that spotlight hits the Queen's crown, history itself holds its breath and asks one fragile human throat to once again redraw the sky.
And so, the Queen of the Night remains untouchable, a role that has crowned divas as legends and crushed others into silence. Every performance is a gamble, every note a knife's edge. Mozart may have written it over 200 years ago, but the danger is alive every time that first note pierces the air. The aria dares the singer to rise or to fall. That is why audiences never forget it, because when the Queen of the Night reigns, she doesn't just sing. She commands, she conquers, and she terrifies. If this aria gave you chills, don't stop here. Step deeper into the world of opera's most thrilling, impossible performances, right here on Opera Brownn. Make sure to subscribe to Opera Brownn and turn on notifications so you never miss a legendary performance.